It's a great honor. I'm hoping that the Hertz Fellows whose education is funded by these fellowships will go off and have even more illustrious careers than I've managed to have. Science and technology are super important to our society. And the scientific advances that move things forward are disproportionately created by a small set of people. The great thing to me about the Hertz Foundation is if you want to help some incredibly deserving, incredibly talented people really make a difference in science, how do you do that? The process of vetting and figuring out who those people are is very daunting. And you could easily make a mistake, right? And not have a great way of selecting who are the people that really ought to be supported. Unfortunately, the other mechanisms normal mechanisms in universities or other kinds of fellowships and grants are very far from perfect and are very limited. So there's an incredible number of very talented students who aren't going to get supported otherwise. And so the great thing about the Hertz Foundation is that they have a very proven, well-honed machine for doing the selection of outstanding graduate students. And that record goes back for decades. The network effect of all of the Hertz Fellows that are out there that will assist in the process, whether that's assist by recommending students for it, assist by interviewing. It's a way of qualifying that the money is going to go to a good place and really accomplish something that very few other opportunities in philanthropy have. You can give to what you think is a very good organization and hope they spend it well. And that's great. There's a whole bunch of things in life that are like that. But for something that's about selecting and supporting a small set of talented individuals, it's very hard to find something that does that. And the Hertz Foundation is one that has cracked the code on that. They've figured it out. And at this stage, if you started something from scratch, it might be decades until you figured out how to get it right. So I think the Hertz Foundation is an incredible opportunity to make a giant difference to the lives of small numbers of people, with the hope that those small number of people will lead to innovations and enhancements in the world that then have giant benefit. And I think that's an incredible bet. I think one of the great things about a Hertz Fellowship is that it gives you freedom, the freedom to innovate. I would expect that many of the Hertz Fellows who become Nathan Myhrvold Fellows will find that what they wind up doing in life may not be what they started off to do. That's certainly true for me. I thought I was going to be, several things in graduate school. Physics, geophysics, math, economics. I wound up becoming a physicist, but I've not really worked as a physicist. I've worked instead in the computer industry. We live in a world where technological innovation is incredibly important, and I'm hoping that these future Hertz Fellows will contribute to that. And they may wind up contributing, like me, in ways that they didn't expect up front. But of course, it's perfectly fine if instead they really know what they want to do and stick to it. Either way, you can't lose. Meeting other Hertz Fellows, both at the time that I was a fellow and since then, is interesting because you have a set of people with which you share a lot of experiences. You share a desire to excel in a science or engineering field. And then the connections that you make can be helpful in getting jobs or in collaborations or all sorts of other things. So I have hired many Hertz Fellows into either Microsoft or into intellectual ventures or collaborated with many Hertz Fellows since then. And it does mean something special to say, oh yeah, that person is a Hertz Fellow. Not as like a old boys club or old girls club, but rather you have a sense of the high quality that the people ostensibly are, and the high standards that they were held to in the process of both getting the Hertz Fellowship and subsequently. The thing about research that's very different than schoolwork, classwork, is that in classwork, you're supposed to always do a good job. Right? You're supposed to solve all of the problem set and get a high grade on the tests by answering most of the questions correctly. When you get to the edge of knowledge, you actually have to be comfortable failing. You couldn't be Lewis and Clark if you said you wanted a trip that was free of mishaps. Real explorers spend half their time lost and confused and not knowing if, is this the right way to go or should we go that way? Well, research is very much like that. And so you can develop self-confidence by getting all of the answers in the problem set correctly. But the answers in the problem set are long settled issues, so they wouldn't put them in a problem set. When it comes to brand new areas, you have to be comfortable trying things, and you have to expect a certain fraction of the time it's not going to work. The scientific method is about teasing out the laws of nature by making hypotheses and then testing them, saying, well, is this actually right? Well, you can't go into a quest to test if you're unwilling to accept when, oh, damn, nature's more complicated than I thought. That hypothesis doesn't work. And, of course, if you're too comfortable with failure, well, then you probably also don't get anywhere. You just are happy posing questions without answering them. The trick for success in science is some mixture. The courage to try new things, the resilience to not be upset if those things don't work out the first time or the 10th time or maybe even the 100th time, depending on what you're doing. It's that struggle that creates the knowledge that we have today. And to push that knowledge forward, you have to take up your role at the front lines of this, which means you have to accept a certain amount of failure. Well, the Hertz Foundation was super important to me when I was a fellow, obviously, because that's how I supported myself, was with the Hertz Fellowship. It was a great luxury to be able to do the schoolwork and the research that I was doing without having to take a job grading papers or a variety of other things. Much later, my son Cameron became the first example, with me, of a father and son who have both were Hertz Fellows. And my wife, Rosemarie, has served on the board of the Hertz Foundation. So we've tried to contribute to the foundation at multiple levels, both by being grist for the mill, so to speak, customers for that, and then since then, as we've been able to both help out financially and help out with our ideas and direct assistance, that's also been very rewarding.